Gambia confirms third COVID-19 case on a 71-year-old man in Numel Upper River region. Kanifing Municipal Council Mayor amplifies presidential decree on banning public gathering amid COVID-19 pandemic. Kenyan farmers are worried about their livelihood with the adverse invasion of huge amounts of locusts in their farms. This and more coming on The World Today. Welcome, and it is 17:05 GMT here in our studios and in Banjul. You're watching The World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV, and I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. The community of Numuel in the outskirts of Basse, Upper River region, has been locked down following confirmation of a case of the COVID-19, while health authorities try to figure out the nature of the virus in the area. The Gambia has, since the declaration of the coronavirus as global pandemic, been confined of 2 confirmed cases, one of which have died on Sunday. At a press conference today, the Director of Health Promotions and Education, the case was confirmed on a 71-year-old Gambian who returned from France on March 17. He flew into the ASCII flight TFL 58, which had 59 passengers in number, exactly the day Gambia confirmed the first confirmed case also on the traveler from Europe.
A 71-year-old Gambian of Upper River region area of Numuel, who recently returned from France, arrived in the Gambia on the 17th of March 2020 at 1:31 hours by a TUI Akifly TF with flight number TFL 458 and traveled to Numuel. How he traveled to Numuel is not yet clear to us, but our team are also investigating that to find out his route of travel from the airport to Numuel. In that particular flight, there were 59 passengers were on board. According to and also the manifestation symptoms began on the 20th of March 2020. He first reported to the OPD of Basse District Hospital with symptoms such as abdominal and chest pain in the early hours of the 21st of March 2020. He was escorted to the hospital by 2 escorts who brought him on a motorcycle. He initially resisted sample collection, but sample was later collected on the 21st of March after the intervention of the PIU, the Police Intervention Unit. Sample sent to MRC at Fajara for testing on the 22nd of March. The result became positive and received on the 23rd of March. He is currently on admission.
Our correspondent Ibrahim Ba is live on the line at the Central Medical Stores in Kotu, where the press conference just been held now. Ibrahim, what is the mood on the ground after the confirmation of the third case of the coronavirus in the Gambia?
Yeah, so today's press conference was characterized by frank questions from journalists as to the need for timely and accurate information from the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare. As you know, the journalists were here since morning hours to wait for this daily update, but the press conference didn't start until some 4 to 5 hours later. So this was a concern that journalists were here to put across. As you know, it is a situation when many people and then almost everybody is relying on the media as to the speculation they are getting, how they, verify and then authenticate the information. So journalists were also under pressure and have to put that same pressure on the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare.
Yes, and was the announcement of this case part of the public expectations from the ministry today?
Sure, partly one can say yes, because going by the social media, speculations continue to make rounds on the media as to the number of cases and then suspected cases. This is not definitely one of the unexpected scenario, but the good news is it is one case. Again, one would have thought that the allegations or the rumors that we are making rounds of number of cases from different corners were not substantiated by the Ministry of Health today.
All right, now what is the next step for the government?
Yeah, the confirmation of third case in the Gambia, signifies a very busy moment for the Ministry of Health and government and even the public now. Initially, it was one case that we talked about in this country. Later on, a second case who is a Bangladeshi who died on Sunday. And now this is a Gambian who returned from France, as the people he shared with the flight, need to be traced now. So the tracing tactics by the Ministry of Health need to be reinforced, and government has no excuse now to delay its way in getting the coronavirus out of the country and controlling its further spread.
Ibrahim Abba, many thanks for joining us live from the Central Medical Stores in Kotu. Now, from that update on the press conference that was earlier on held on the situation of the coronavirus in the Gambia, next we head to Nigeria and, of course, talk on measures taken to combat the spread of the coronavirus, because efforts to combat the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic is intensifying in some part of Nigeria, as churches have been closed in Lagos to minimize public gathering to curb the spread of the disease. Members of several churches have been asked to pray at home as part of precautionary measures to avoid people from being contaminated by the virus. Local researchers are also working hard to devise means to end COVID-19 pandemic. Let's have more of that in this report.
Is usually packed with cars on both sides every Sunday morning, and it's because of this church. But this Sunday, it's a different picture. Complying with the directive of the Lagos State government limiting the number of worshippers in churches and mosques to 20, the church has decided to cancel its service altogether.
I've been discovered there is a global problem, and what everybody is trying to do is to provide solution to whatever that is happening, and to protect the lives of the people. The best we could do is to suspend the service and also to keep on praying for every member of the church, wherever they may be, so that they will not be affected. And not this alone, to also pray generally for the entire populace in the country.
And it's not only Christ Apostolic Church. Many other churches in the city also locked up their gates, asking members to pray from home. A few weeks ago, this would have been unimaginable in a deeply religious country as Nigeria. Authorities say this is going to be the new norm for some time.
I believe that in the course of praying to God, that there's going to be a divine intervention that will bring everything into permanent solution.
And talking about solution, this molecular biologist and clergyman says he and his team of researchers are working on a homegrown one and only require support to complete it.
My proposal is looking at how to actually stop the virus to have its way to the host cell. And if this virus can get inside the cell, before you know, even the natural immune system will mop up the virus. Because the strength of the virus, including that of Ebola virus, is that when they evade the cell and are able to get to the cell, they can degrade the cell, and with that they can multiply easily in the cell, and that can make it deadly. So that is where our research is looking towards, and we have quite a number of things that we are proposing to run the research that can eventually be formulated as drugs.
His proposal sounds quite exciting, but without the needed funding, it might continue to remain in the cooler. And while the country hopes for a scientific solution to the COVID-19 pandemic, it is also praying for a divine one.
Before now, many Nigerians had been going to churches and mosques to pray away COVID-19 from the country. They would now have to do so from their homes. It's something many religious people in this country never imagined, but it's a reality that they now have to live with, at least until COVID-19 is fully contained here.
Efforts to contain the ongoing, of course, spread of the COVID-19 continues around the globe. And of course, from that report in Nigeria, we'll now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the stories.
Fear over electoral rigging rocks Zimbabwe as the country.
Yesterday, after listening to Prime Minister May's assessment of the state of the negotiations,
Why it is our diocesan patron feast day is because the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption is dedicated.
Do not have it in their mindset or in their psyche that we are playing against Algeria.
Welcome back. You are watching the news bulletin on iAfrica TV, and now to the rest of the story. Now, the Banjul-Brikama Highway is still untouchable for anyone catching a very important appointment, despite confirmation of the case of the coronavirus pandemic, leading to suspension of public gatherings, except in very few hours at the night. The movement of the people is punctuated by heavy traffic jam that comprise the idea of social distance as a preventive measures. After 1 week, the suspension of all forms of public gathering doesn't translate with what obtains on various places, including the Serekunda market. The situation compelled the Kanifi Municipal Council to call on the police to put on a boost to enforce of the presidential order. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Exactly 7 days after the suspension of public gatherings by the government of the Gambia, the Kanifing Municipal Council has requested the Gambia Police Force to help in enforcement of the presidential decree. The routine movement of people within the country for various reasons continue to punctuate a scenario of traffic jams, market congestion, commercial meetings, despite the call for social distancing. The Kanifing Municipal Council, being the most populated region in the country, could no longer bear the risk involved in mass gathering in whatever reason. It therefore avoided the bureaucratic tendencies to share the letter with the Gambia Police Force.
It was a good move by the President to ban all public gatherings. However, since the official communique, we have noticed that not much has changed, aside from the children not going to school, which we think also was an excellent move, and we've seen a reduction in traffic because of it. However, if you just go to Serakunda market right now, you'll see there's an open market going on. It's a Lumo-like atmosphere. It's been going on for the past weeks, and if you go to Sunday beaches, you will see they are congested the same as ever. So we think enforcement needs to be done.
Hardly is the ordinary vendor told the truth, so that the pavement and footpath for shopping centers are being occupied by open markets. The Serekunda Central Market, being key institution in this situation, is against the will of the KMC itself.
We wrote an open letter because sometimes when you write, it can be lost in the mail or lost in the bureaucracy. So an open letter we know will catch their attention, that we think they should enforce this public gathering. They should use all the security personnel in their disposal, including the army, to ensure that this is enforced.
This call is now for the Gambia Police Force to put on their combat boots to disperse any form of unnecessary gathering that will likely to help in the spread of coronavirus in the country. The Gambia has so far confirmed 2 cases of the virus. The second case, who was confirmed to be an immigrant from Bangladesh via neighboring Senegal, died on Sunday. Meanwhile, a number of institutions, including the Gambia National Assembly, the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commissions, have suspended operations since the declaration by the President. The police is now likely to take up the challenge to join the war against coronavirus COVID-19. For iAfrica News, this is Ibrahim Presba.
From the report there by Ibrahim Prespa, and of course next we move to Somalia, where of course the Somalian government has tightened measures to contain the effects of the spread of the COVID-19 since confirmation of the first case in the country last week. The Prime Minister has provided $5 million, suspended public gatherings and closed all borders and schools as part of efforts to stem the deadly virus. Residents have welcomed the government's move to prevent and control the spread of the coronavirus in the country. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khair says his administration has set aside $5 million to contain the spread of coronavirus after the country recorded its first positive case. The government ordered the closure of all schools and universities across the country. It has also discouraged public gatherings to prevent the chances of COVID-19 spreading. But on Saturday, the Ministry of Civil Aviation and Air Transport announced a 2-day respite on the suspension to allow Somali nationals stranded at international airports a chance to return. Airlines given a green light to land include those from airports in Kenya, Ethiopia and the United Arab Emirates. Cargo flights have also been banned with exemption to humanitarian aid and emergency flights. On the streets of the capital, locals have welcomed efforts by the government to contain COVID-19.
It's our responsibility to ensure basic hygiene everywhere, at home, for our children, make sure we live in a clean place, and God willing, we hope this disease doesn't reach us.
There are always 2 ways to dealing with any crisis: prevention and treatment. There is no known remedy for coronavirus, therefore we must ensure we abide by health directives.
Traders have been warned against taking advantage of the ongoing situation to hike prices of basic items such as food and hygiene equipments. Prices of hand sanitizers in Mogadishu has drastically increased since the government declared the first positive case of coronavirus last week.
We have enough food and medicine to last us for a while. The government is implementing steps to contain the spread of the virus. We've had extensive talks with the business community and they have agreed to cooperate with the government as we seek to tackle the spread of coronavirus.
For now, screening at all airports continues. The government says early detection is the best way to prevent the virus from spreading to areas beyond the government's control.
From that report there in Somalia, of course, next to Kenya, where, of course, farmers in the eastern part of the country are worried over their livelihoods as locust invasion in the area continues to destroy their crops. The impact of the locust invasion has been significantly huge and has greatly affected the lives of the residents in the region. Kenyan government and partners are collaborating to find a solution to the menace. Let's have more of that in this report.
Chasing these locusts is an exercise in futility. The loud noises and movements startle them out of their hiding places, but they are hard to catch. The large swarms cast a shadow over the earth, rising and then quietly falling back to their hiding places as if they never left. This is the predicament that farmers in Kenya's western region are grappling with as the swarms move southwards. The Rift Valley is Kenya's food basket. It is largely responsible for feeding the nation. But even this relatively cool area has not been spared by the desert locust invasion. In Nyigon village, 65-year-old Ruth B. watched helplessly as the insects invaded her farm.
They slept in the trees the night they arrived. In the morning, they descended on our farms. We had to move our cattle down. Everything now is at a standstill. Since they came, we've had nothing but problems.
We are worried. In this area, we depend on maize farming to educate our children and for our livelihoods. If the locusts remain, we don't know what we'll do.
With their livelihoods threatened, everyone had to join hands to help chase the locusts away. But their efforts were a drop in a seemingly endless sea of locusts. A section of farmers in Uasin Gishu County say the desert locusts have not wreaked much havoc on their farms, but this is largely because many of them are yet to sow this year's crop, and as more swarms continue to arrive, they fear that next year's harvest could be in jeopardy.
As long as the locusts remain here, we won't plant our crops because we will suffer double losses. We'll lose the seeds we plant together with the year's harvest.
It is a state of affairs that scientists say is unusual but not entirely unexpected, as the locusts move in search of suitable areas to lay their eggs.
There was very good vegetation, very high relative humidity due to more than usual rains, and the locusts have been moving from northeastern Kenya. As the winds were pushing, they really ride on the winds to migrate. They change with the winds all the way to western Kenya, parts of eastern Uganda now. That's how the migration happened.
A desert locust swarm covering 1 square kilometer can eat the same amount of food in one day as 35,000 people. And this is why farmers heaved a sigh of relief when, a few days after they arrived in Uasin Gishu, the swarms migrated.
The same winds will now take these locusts as young adults, as swarms now to areas like Ethiopia, Eritrea, parts of Djibouti, South Sudan and Sudan. And they'll be finding a new crop because their cropping season starts in April. And that's now the danger, biggest danger in that area.
Government and non-governmental agencies have banded together to track the insects and spray them. Aerial spraying is considered the most effective control method, but it is a race against time as the insects continue to lay their eggs and multiply.
What a rather unfortunate situation for the farmers there in the eastern part of Kenya. Well, viewers, that's all we have for you in this news bulletin. But of course, as always, for more on these and other stories, you can also log on our website on iafrica.tv. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Bye for now.